Hi, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Empower Hour with your host, Nakornsri. This platform is to empower you, to inspire you, to enlighten you to reach your full potential. Today, we have a very special guest, Kamal, who's one of the owners of Ben's Chili Bowl, a very historic building. It's more than just a restaurant, guys. They have a very long list of history. I mean, people like Obama has been there, Bill Cosby and other famous celebrities have been there. And I'm so honored to have him as my guest today. Today, we're going to be picking his mind on how he is able to keep the legacy going. I'm very inspired and motivated to ask him these core questions because, Washington, D.C. has been a very growing place, but the question is, how do you keep it growing into a very legendary, historic business? And so we have Kamal here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about, the whole family business and what is the culture there and how do you guys keep that going?
Well, 60 years ago it started. This is our 60th anniversary year. Mom and Dad started in August 22nd, 1958,
Right.
in what was then called Black Broadway. It was a historic African-American corridor, probably the best and brightest in the whole country. I mean, it had such history from as early as, 1900 coming up. For African Americans, you couldn't even go into the Apollo Theater until 1941.
Wow.
But on U Street and in Washington D.C., there's this very rich history with Howard University and the Dunbar and all kinds of black jazz and Broadway up and down U Street.
Wow. I did read that it was Nat King Cole. He was there, like all these famous
All
jazz
of those
artists. So okay, and I understand that place is a place of, to me, I call it a safe haven where MLK, Martin Luther King got assassinated, and everybody was going there to kind of have like a community. People were talking, and as you describe, a barbershop, right? People go
Exactly.
there
For
and
conversation. Exactly. And it's always been that way. I mean, we're, again, centered in the African American community. From 1958 when Black Broadway, we had 10 wonderful years before the 1968 riots. But it was big in the civil rights movement. So, of course, we had Martin Luther King. And, Ben's has been like a kind of a mirror for the city. So a lens, so to speak, for the whole city. So whatever's happening in the city, people end up on U Street,
Right.
and they end up in Ben's. And because we're open early and we're open late and we're open 7 days a week, and whatnot, it's a friendly place. It's not too expensive a place. So people end up side by side, just like you and I here today. And my mom always says, there's a judge sitting right next to a junkie having a conversation.
Right.
And
Wow.
they're at that counter, and
Yeah.
it's sort of like a lunch counter, if you imagine, from the old civil rights days, where, which is like a bar or a barber shop.
Right.
And what do you do at a bar or a barber shop? You sit down and have a conversation with the guy next to you. So it's a friendly place.
Yeah, but I would imagine that it's not always like that in that time, the riot and everything. How do you guys keep that peace? How do you guys keep that culture? I think it has a lot to do with the founder and the owner, who your father, who was centered and at peace and really had a bigger vision and a bigger purpose for that establishment. I mean, it was more than just a place of food.
Yeah, well, and mom and dad, of course, my mom is from Virginia. She's of mixed descent, some African American, Native American, some Caucasian mixed in there, and dad is primarily East Indian from Trinidad and Tobago. So they started mixed. So there was that movie, The Loving. Well, that's where my mom was from. The daughter of The Loving is in my mom's church down the country, as we call it in the Virginia farm. So my mom and dad had what was then termed an interracial marriage. And and not only that, but he was Muslim, she was Christian. So
Wow.
so it started. So maybe they brought together a piece there, and represented through the civil rights movement. And it's just mom and dad's. The people who they are. They mentored all these kids coming up on the streets of U Street. They mentored lots of students from Howard University and other universities who were working their way through college. Like my dad came here as an immigrant to work his way through college.
Right.
Immigrancy, talking about Donald Trump here. So this was a place of peace. And,
Right.
and U Street has always represented the city and has always represented Washington. But these types of things, I mean, you're talking about from Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement to Obama becoming president when they took over U Street. I mean, people just took over U Street. They shut U Street down.
Right.
One of my favorite days in the Chili Bowl there was the Million Man March. It felt like Christmas.
Right.
People were so warm and loving and whatnot. So I think, U Street is certainly part of that culture. We're a big part of U Street. And like you said, Mom and Dad, their spirits resonate.
I mean, tell us about your dad, because I can see first of all, I went to Dick Gregory's funeral, and without even knowing him personally, I understood the man that he is. He is a person that's passionate about justice and equal rights, and he was using his platform to really make an impact. And so it almost seems like that's your dad. Although I don't know him personally, when I was looking, researching him and everything like that, I was like, wow, this man is a powerful man who had a vision and a purpose in his life, who's using his restaurant to really, bring people together for peace and for love. And so tell us about your father.
Well, those people who really know my father knew he was hell on wheels. He was a very temperamental guy. He was a fun guy, but he was not a guy to be messed around with. But he did have a very good spirit deep down, and he was very generous with giving to lots of different communities. He was a motivational speaker. He went down to a place called Waco, Texas, and took a course in maybe the 70s in Success Motivation Institute, kind of the precursor to Tony Robbins and
Wow.
Zig Ziglar and these kind of guys. And he learned motivation, and he said that really altered his life. And he used that to teach us and to teach others. He actually came back and taught that for some time. So he was a very interesting guy. He also went into the stock market full time when I was in high school. And he had a physical, a little machine, looked maybe like a hard drive, that was shooting across the ticker tape of the stock market. This is back in 1978 when I was in high school. So he was a very progressive and very interesting guy, for sure.
Okay, so I can see the culture I'm saying, because he is a person that's a visionary. He has a real intentional purpose, within his business. And I'm just so excited because I get to interview someone who's a product of that. And, I'm someone who's very in tune with my intuition. I feel that with you. Do you feel like there is something inside of you that's a part of him? And what is that?
Well, definitely I'm my father and my mother's son, and all of us are products of who we were raised by and the environment we were raised in. So Mom was the sweetheart in the family, Dad was the business guy and the motivator and the hellraiser. But so I'm a product of both of those people. But I'll tell you a great story about him is when Martin Luther King was killed, Dad said he was trying to think of what could he do for the community, and he found a picture, and it was kind of a colorized picture of Dr. King. And this is in a time where there were more black and white pictures. And he took this colorized picture, and he placed an order for like 10,000 calendars featuring Dr. King, and we still have an original version of that calendar. And he gave them out for free. And back then we were advertising on what is the Radio 1 network now. WOL was the famous station. We did lots of advertising. Hey, Kathy, Alfred. We did lots of advertising on Radio 1 back then, which was WOL. Mm-hmm. And they advertised, and people came from all over to get these calendars. And they thought they had to pay for them. And when they came in line, I said, how much for the calendar? Mm-hmm. Because people love Dr. King so much. And he saw this beautiful calendar. He said, it's free. And he said, what do you mean it's free?
Wow.
Give me 20 half smokes. Give me 15 hot dogs. And they were just, so those types of things that we've done for the community and with the community have, made us part of that community and made them, we call it a love-in. It's a love-in between the community and Ben's Chili Bowl.
So I'm going to switch it a little bit because I believe that you guys have a history and a story, and everybody wants to come to Washington, D.C. almost because to experience that, to be around these great leaders and civil rights, activists and things like that. But for you today, how do you keep that legacy going? How do you keep the business flowing? Because it could have died, many years ago, but I believe that you and your brother did something intentional to make it an international brand. How did you do that?
Well, we can't take all the credit. Certainly we've been blessed, we've been fortunate, but there are some key things. So the first thing that made us survive the riots is owning our own real estate. And so those businesses that own their own real estate, including Industrial Bank, which is one of the founding longest standing African American businesses on U Street, and Lee's Florist across the street, and Ben's, we all owned our own real estate. And therefore, the landlord couldn't put us out. They couldn't double or triple the rent. We were able to survive the riots and survive the metro construction and those devastating things that happened along these 50, 60, 70 years.
Wow.
And survive. So that was one key. What other keys in terms of the business, or of course we've always tried to stay young. I would advise any business to stay young, meaning bring in younger people, bring in young generations. So us following mom and dad, you keep the business young, and we need to bring young people in, because imagine today when you have all the social media and the internet and online ordering and all these types of things. There's in every business, the young people are the pioneers because they understand the technology.
Right.
So that's another secret to keeping the business vibrant and successful. And we've tried to grow the business now. I mean, so you can't, even if you stay still, there are places that say, you know what, I'll never change. And people have said never change this chili bowl, but everything can change around you. And as things change around you and as technology changes, you could become obsolete.
Right.
So you have to always reinvent yourself,
Yeah.
or consider reinventing yourself, or what's needed. So it's basically called keeping your hands on the pulse of the business. And so you have to respond to your customers and what are their needs, what are their wants, how are things changing. So an idea for that is, I remember that I was eating myself a turkey burger or turkey bacon or something. We were one of the first ones in the whole city to get a little bit more health conscious. As we were doing it, and me and my friends were doing it, we started it on the menu. And so we have turkey burgers and turkey bacon and vegetarian chili and veggie burgers. So these are things that mom and dad didn't do.
Right.
They didn't have to do at that time, but
Yeah.
you have to keep your hands on the pulse, and that's another secret.
So you're saying as you evolve, your business has to evolve within yourself. And if you don't know the right answers, you have to hire someone who's an expert, right?
And keep it young. Get the young people, because as people are evolving, again, it's young. It's next generation, the next generation, the next generation. As long as you keep the young people around you, you'll stay fresh.
So you mentioned that you would branch off on doing other things and, real estate and, other business ventures. Why is keeping the family business so important to you? I'm sure that it can be easier to say, you know what, we did our mark in the world and we could, kind of leave it alone for the next person who wants to buy that property. Why do you want to keep it going?
Well, that's where the blood, sweat, and tears that mom came in. I mean, blood, sweat, and tears, not only for mom and dad, but all the staff, all the community. So it's really, I don't consider the chili bowl to be my chili bowl or our family's chili bowl. I consider it to be the community's in Washington, D.C. And so what makes us happy is to serve more people. So we want to expand and to serve more people, make it more convenient for them. We want to make opportunities for our staff, for opportunities for advancement so that they can become assistant managers and maybe owners one day of a franchise or something, so that they can take care of their families.
Wow.
And do similar to what we've done. So I'd love to be one of the first or one of the most well-known African-American franchisors.
Wow.
Lots of franchisees that are very famous and have 200 or 300 franchises of McDonald's or Burger King, athletes, etc. But a franchisor, I don't know too many African-American franchisors who are successful. So that's a goal, and it's a goal so that young people can be proud, so that the race can be proud, and the city can be proud
Right.
of something that's homegrown.
And I think that's the key, honestly, because I've been reading a book called Conscious Capitalism. It's from John McKay, who's the co-owner of Whole Foods. And he was saying you have to be conscious of the vision and the mission and the purpose of the company that you have. And you're able to align to other people with the same mission and vision, that you have. And I think that for me, reading your guys' story, I feel like that's what it's really based on. You're not hiring people who's just only money driven, or it's a bigger purpose. Like, I'm so excited to be able to sit here with you because I understand that it's a greater vision and a mission and a purpose within your platform. And do you think that is why? Because there are a lot of people who opens up, restaurants and clubs and businesses in Washington, D.C., and they fail within like a year.
Yeah, well, you've said some key words here. You've said culture, right? Mm-hmm. You've said a fit, a match. And whether it's for your kid's school or whether it's for finding a mate or a partner, it has to be the right fit. It's not a right or a wrong, or I'm better than you, or you're different from me. It's finding the right fit, finding something that suits you. So in terms of a business, and these young entrepreneurs, they're very conscious of culture. What is the culture of your establishment? What's the culture that you promote within your organization, that you exude? Because it starts with the ownership, it goes to the staff, and it's transmuted to the guests. So at the end of the day, culture is a very, very important thing, and to really consider what is it that your business represents, what are those values. And so you have mission, vision, value statements, right? And people are listing that a lot these days. I was at the bank the other day, and I saw posted their mission, vision, values, and that's kind of a more modern trend, but it's very appropriate to what do you represent, and so your guests can relate to you.
So while I'm here with you, can you tell us, like, has the culture, evolved since then? Because I seen that, Bill Cosby was like, well, listen, if you got the magic sauce, keep it that way, don't change it. So I took it as your culture and your values, and not only just, your special sauce in your hot dog and your sausages and stuff like that, but I just took it as a way where if it works, then you just let it work.
Right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, is the old business saying. But you're right, and the family's presence. What we find challenging more than anything else is how to translate. We had this one store, this iconic store, for 55 years before, 52 years or something before we expanded a little bit.
Right.
And then we went right next door. So it's the family presence that's very hard to duplicate, right? So you're trying to say, it's always been my mom or dad in the restaurant. It's myself or my wife or my brothers. And so it's always some family. My cousin Rob has been integral to the business, and many, many others. Peaches has been with us for 40 years, long-term employees.
Wow.
And so now in a time where, you don't have as many long-term, employees or family members, if you're opening up lots of stores, it's hard to do that. So you have to try to really, really work hard on passing that culture along.
So it's like, it's us first, right? It's us and our family, culture first, and then we can bring it out into our employees, and we can bring it out into the world. So there's a conscious thing, and it affects the whole, like, economic system,
It's conscious and it's unconscious. I mean, it's what we call just being ourselves. We've been just being ourselves for all these years, and now when you talk about it and people become more aware of it, like you said, self-aware, then people say, "Wow, okay, it's a real thing now. It's my inner consciousness that I'm doing. I wasn't trying. We were just being ourselves for all these years."
Oh gosh.
And that's really what the culture is doing what you do, right?
Well, you make it seem so, like, natural. I have friends who own, businesses and clubs and things like that in U Street. And, every day is a motivation to how can we bring the new people coming in? How do we bring the new clients? Or how do we keep the same clients? Like, what do you suggest that I tell these people?
I have a very simple solution or simple answer for me anyway, is have fun. My whole thing is have fun. If I'm having fun, the staff is having fun, the customers are having fun, everybody's having fun. Everybody lighten up a little bit, have a little bit better time, get the stress off. We all have too much stress in our lives, working hard and families and bills, etc. Take the stress off, come on down to U Street, get a chili half smoke, and have some fun.
So have fun. Is that really the key? Because I'm going to tell them that. I'm going to say have fun. I think they're going to have too much fun. But I do see that there's a new, picture on your wall here with Michelle Obama and Obama. I said Cosby. But anyways, how did you pick those pictures?
Yes, well, the first mural had been up 5 years. It was getting a little tattered and worn, and we decided to refresh it and do a new mural. And so what we did was we put out a survey, being of the community. We put out a survey and said, hey, what do the community want on the wall? It's not my wall again. It's the city's wall. It's our community's wall. What do you guys want on the wall?
Right.
And we put up a bunch of options for them to choose from and to add their own, space to add their own. And these people are who they voted for to be on the wall at U Street. So
it's really about the votes. Really?
It's really about the votes. It's really about what the people want.
Wow.
And it's a great expression of U Street, of African American history, of entertainment. It's a great mixture. You got athletes up there. You got civil rights leaders. You got politicians. You got newscasters. You got comedians. It's a great representation, I think, and it's been very colorful. And Neocon is a wonderful muralist. This was done by Murals DC. Neocon, the muralist, again, was just, he's done tons of murals around the city. He's a fabulous artist. And it was kind of his expression. It's his composition that he put there with those names.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's always about using your platform to serve others. I think that's how you have a classic, success. It's about
Yeah.
other people.
And
It's
looking
not about
for
money. It's about other
that's
people.
right. That's right. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about everyone else, about the whole community. So, but we seek those platforms. So that's probably what we do as well as anything is we seek the opportunities, we seek the platforms. To some people outside, that would have just been a wall,
Right.
right?
Right.
You've turned it into a platform. Look at what you can do with that. We have a hallway upstairs between the Ben's Chili Bowl and Ben's next door, and I said, wow, this hallway's empty, and we took it and we did a project with what do they call the local historian who did a little exhibit up there for history.
Wow.
I can't call their name right now, but they did they were seeking a space to come off the mall for the tourists, and so they put a little tourist center up there. So it's just an empty hallway. We turned it into a tourist center for disseminating information, for
Right.
living some history. So you take nothing and make something out of it.
You guys turned into a landmark. You guys are a landmark, so of course you gotta run
60
with it.
years. 60 years is a long time. And again, and Mom is still there. Mom is over the grill, scraping the grill at 84 years old.
No
I mean,
way.
she's amazing. She's amazing. And so she's my inspiration, my heart and soul, and we just love her to pieces. And this will be her 85th year and
Wow.
our 60th year
Wow.
at Ben's Chili Bowl. So we really want to make it a celebratory year. It's also the 50th year of the riots.
Wow.
So this is a historic year for the city in a lot of ways. And so we plan on celebrating all year long.
First of all, your mother is so fabulous. I see her with her pearl necklace all the time in the city. I love pearl necklaces. She is such an inspiration. So another question is what are you guys gonna do with the celebration?
So, of course, we're going to do a big gala on the August 22nd anniversary date, but we do want to do some things all year long, and we'll find some opportunities every month, hopefully, to celebrate something. So on Friday, we're having a Black History Month kickoff at Ben's upstairs, but there'll be lots of things at all the different units,
Yeah.
and celebrating our history and celebrating the business and celebrating Washington and celebrating being alive and having fun.
Wait, okay, so tell us about your new establishment. You said Ben's upstairs on
Yes.
8th Street. Please tell us about that.
Yes, a couple of years ago, we went over to 8th Street, which is another historic African-American historic corridor, and that suffered from the riots.
Yeah.
And wow, that 8th Street corridor is coming up the whole city is just really exploding
Right.
with growth and opportunity and tons of restaurants and fun. But so this 8th Street corridor, we were able to purchase a site. We used our friends at City First Bank, and we bought this building, and we renovated it.
Right.
And we turned it into Ben's Chili Bowl on the bottom. And the neighborhood at that time, they didn't want just fast food restaurants. They wanted a full service restaurant to develop this corridor. And so we agreed to put Ben's upstairs. So there you go. You see the
Oh.
Ben's upstairs. It has a rooftop bar, and it has fabulous food and drinks. So please come visit us. We're having that celebration on Friday. We have a Super Bowl party on Sunday. Come on out. Have some fun.
That sounds like fun because it's like a family warming kind of environment, but then also there's upstairs where if you wanted to have drinks and you wanted to celebrate, you can also do that.
It's been a great combination of having the Chili Bowl and Ben's next door on U Street, the Chili Bowl and Ben's upstairs on H Street. It's something for everybody.
Right.
So whether you're in the mood for a chili cheeseburger and chili cheese fries, or whether you want to go upstairs and have a Sunday brunch with chicken and waffles or shrimp and grits, it's a little bit something for everybody. Don't forget the bottomless mimosas.
Oh my gosh, I'm coming! Bottomless mimosas. Okay. One other question. After 5 years, can I be on your wall?
Well, people do ask to be on the wall all the time,
Right.
and so this is what we did for that, right? We listened to the people, and a guy comes up to us and the guy says, "I'd like to create an app for you." The community is so wonderful to us. People just do things for us without us asking. So he wanted to create an app, and the app he created is to put people on the wall.
Wow.
So you go on your phone, you take a picture, and it uploads on our app. He has a Ben's Chili Bowl app, and it uploads you on the TV on the Ben's Chili Bowl wall while you're there. Everybody can be on the wall.
But that's kind of like Photoshop. I know I'm a millennial, but we want the real thing. But okay, another question before we go, and it's just been too soon. What is your live and learn and pass it on moment?
Live and learn and pass it on. Well, there are a lot of special moments in one's life. The day you graduate, the day you get married, the day you have your children, these types of things. And one of the special ones for us was also our 50th anniversary. And at our 50th anniversary, where we had Bill Cosby on stage emceeing a gala at the Lincoln Theater and Roberta Flack singing, Dick Gregory performing. It all kind of came together, and it was really special because we had Mom and Dad both there, so the entire family was there. My brother Sage performed on stage, and it was just really, and it was all free to the public.
Wow.
We got great sponsors, and they made it all free to the public. There's Jesse, who comes in on the regular. God bless him. I think he's having some health issues, and Brother Cosby having some health issues. So, you know what? It's just been a love and adventure, Chili Bowl. It's been my deep and sincere pleasure to be the steward for so many years. So.
Right.
Thank you for having me here.
Well,
We hope to make it another few more years, maybe 40 more. We'll round it off at a century.
Of course, especially Trump's in office. We gotta stay strong. And okay.
People have been afraid that he's going to come into Chili Bowl, and Omarosa has been a visitor of ours and a guest and a friend for many years since she was at Howard University. She comes to Ben's next door in Ben's Chili Bowl, so we were curious as to whether or not she was going to bring him in there one day. But
So if Trump comes in, would you give him a chili bowl?
you know what? Mom loves everybody. Mom's from the country, and Mom loves everybody. And you know what? We're all God's children at the end of the day. We may agree to disagree on lots of things, but that's kind of the spirit that we live by.
There you go. I am so honored for you to be here to share us your story. I'm so honored for you to have your presence here with us. You guys check out the 8th Street Lounge. Ben's upstairs. It's a wonderful place. I've been there. It's a place that you come and socialize with other people. You see the brightest and the smartest and the most, beautiful-ist, if that's a word, people there. You definitely want to go there. 8th Street is a great place to visit. It's a new area, so come join him. Say hi to Kamal when you get there. And thank you so much for coming here, Kamal.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me. Black Panther Party, February 16th. Everybody watch it.
There you go.
Listen, vision. DC's #1 recording studio.